Perfect. All right. So welcome everybody to the In-Demand Hairstylist Virtual Summit. So excited that you guys are here. I'm very excited to be hosting this in this group. It's been obviously a very interesting time for all of us. And so I'm just very excited to be able to offer something to this community to just fill your cup and to re-energize you and get excited for what's to come instead of getting stuck in sort of what is. And what better way to start it off than with the amazing Kelli Mason. I've been such a huge fan of yours. I'm so grateful that you decided to come on and share with the community today. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Well, if you want to just share a little bit for those of you that don't know Kelli, she's so amazing. So I'll let you do your intro and you can kind of explain to them sort of what you do. That would be awesome.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here. This is so great. Thanks, Kristen, for having me. I love hanging out with other hairdressers and talking about all the things that light me up and make me excited. I feel like I've been kind of, oh, my hair's kind of crazy there. I feel like I've been kind of preparing for this moment, even though it feels like such a horrible crisis right now. A lot of the things that I've been doing over the last several years have been really practicing for this time, like to stay grounded, to stay in touch with ourselves, to stay protected and guided internally. So I'm really excited to share some tips with all of you to help protect your energy as you go back out into the world, to help yourself stay more calm and less stressful, because we know that things are going to be different and uncertainty can create a little bit of craziness in our minds. And I'll share with you a few techniques for you to use and have something actually to take away from today. I'm a spiritual guide and conscious business mentor. I have a podcast called The Limitless Soul, and I have on guests who've done inner work and achieved outer success. It's something I became obsessed with whenever I first became a hairdresser. I was like, wow, I want to be like that person up on the stage, or I want to be like creative director. I had all these really big dreams. But I live in a small town. This is my salon, actually, I'm at right now. It's empty. We don't have an open date yet. But I was just that chick who lived in a small town and had these really big dreams, and everyone around me was like, you're going to need to move to LA, or you're going to need to move to New York or Chicago or something to be able to achieve some of these like really crazy things. And so I was like, I'm pretty stubborn. So I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll prove wrong to you, you know? And along the way, I definitely did. I co-led New York Fashion Week several times. I entered NAHA. I did some editorial work. I was a platform artist, traveled nationally teaching classes for several years for a company, kind of like did that climb the ladder thing within a brand. And I found myself still like outwardly, I was very successful and I was doing things that I had set my mind to, but I was still feeling like I'd get to a goal and then I would feel like, this is it. Like, what else? And so I started to realize that after I had my kids, it really started to hit me that I could no longer strive for these really high level achievements and not feel peaceful along the way. It was affecting my family. It was affecting my coworkers. It was affecting my relationship with my children, because all I cared about was like manifesting outwardly. I just wanted to like achieve, right? I wanted to get to that goal. I wanted to like make it happen, so that I could feel good. And I, about 5 years ago, started practicing meditation really in depth. I had been since I was 19, and I share a lot of that story on my podcast about my journey spiritually. But about 5 years ago, I really was like, okay, this isn't working anymore. Like, I've got to figure something else out. And I started to apply some of my spiritual principles to some of the things I was doing in my life, increasing my awareness, becoming more empowered to make choices that were in alignment with what I wanted instead of what other people wanted. And As you start to do that and integrate these things, you start to realize you don't have to compare yourself to what other people are doing, that there's an abundance and there's room for everyone, and all of these things everybody says, but you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. You can start to really believe it. So now I am working with hairdressers, creative entrepreneurs, health coaches, yoga teachers, all kinds of people to help them find what it is that they really want to do, because I think that's such an important thing for us right now with how much availability we have through connection, like things like this, like Kristen having a Facebook group and having a community. Like anyone can do that if that's what you want to do, but also figuring out what is it that really sets you up for feeling like you're in your own zone, you're in your own place that makes you feel really excited. So that's kind of what I do through one-on-one work, through group work, and my own community, is supporting other people how to find their path, how to find your purpose, and how to own it and honor it and integrate it into your life and your work so that they can be cohesive and one.
Yeah, I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think so much of what you just shared is so relatable for so many people, right? Like, I think that there are a lot of stylists. I mean, I would say the majority, I mean, I don't know how many hairstylists are in the United States, but there's a lot of them. And most of us don't live in big cities, right? We don't live in New York or LA. So I think that piece that you said is just so relatable for a lot of stylists, you know, that you were a small town girl with really big dreams and you didn't care what people said and you went after that. And I just admire that so much about you. And I think that that's super inspiring for people who are going to be watching this, that it gives them, you know, the hope that they can do things like that as well. Because I know that just even in this group, people have shared that they want to be on stages and they want to be platform artists and they want to be educators. So it's just really encouraging that, you know, you were able to do that. And also too, I love the piece that you shared that, you know, the evolution of your career, you know, and that it at one point that really fed you, but once you had children, like it kind of shifted and changed for you. And I think, you know, where I have, when I started following you, it was sort of like, I think you were sort of like having that shift at that point. So I've sort of followed you along this journey, and it's been beautiful to see it just kind of unfold and how, you know, you've stepped into what felt meaningful and purposeful for you in this season of your life and just going after it. So I just want to thank you for being an inspiration for me. And then just like for anyone that doesn't know you, that this is their first time, you're absolutely, I know, going to be an inspiration to them. So again, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being here and taking the time to share with us today. It's so awesome. And I'm super excited. So without further ado, I'm pumped to see what you have for us today, because you know everything that we had talked about ahead of time is that what you mentioned, it's times are uncertain, and as stylists we've gone through this past couple of months with a lot of uncertainty, some ups, some downs. But one thing's for certain, I'm sure that everybody at one point or another has felt overwhelmed, stressed, or felt off. So if you want to just share like your piece about that, I'm going to sit back, take notes, and listen right along with everybody else. So I'll hand it over to you.
Cool. Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, I think the one thing that's so important above all is just being okay with the fact that change is inherent. Like it's inevitable, like it's always going to happen. And once we can start to really identify that and surrender to that, that change is always going to happen, it frees up so much within our souls, within ourselves, to relax. Because a lot of times we get so attached. We get attached to outcomes, we get attached to people, we get attached to situations and places and things and comforts and securities. And we get so attached to them that if it's taken away, we enter into a very stressful state of being, a state of mind. And quite literally, that has happened to all of us over the last couple of months. Something that is so certain for us, that's so comfortable and we're so attached to, which is our job, Like being able to provide service, I mean, it gives us all of the things that we need. It gives us our sense of purpose. It gives us feeling like we have value. It gives us pride. It gives us money. It gives us purpose. And when that has been just absolutely taken away, like so many other people, and there's so many other things happening, loved ones getting taken away by the virus, like just so much has been taken from us. um, and it can definitely cause stress, and I know that so many people I've talked to have been in that situation where the attachment was so deep and so real that when that's taken away, we lose a sense of our identity, and we lose a sense of like, who am I without this? And at least for me, it's been in all of the spiritual work, all of meditating, it could never prepare you for something like this. It definitely gave me some strength to lean in. But I definitely have been stressed too. I've felt overwhelmed. I've felt the attachments falling away. And the one thing that really keeps me, at least from my own experience, grounded and relaxed with all of this craziness happening around me, even though may have moments, is finding presence. Because when we're in the present moment, we realize that there's no point of power that we have anywhere else. We can't control what's happened in the past. We can't have any sort of influence on what's happening in the future. Like, the only thing that we have power over is the present moment. And when we can reclaim that, and we can honor that and own that and realize that, it's a very it helps you to relax more into the moment instead of be so stressed, because you know that your power lies right here, right now, like in this second, in this second, in this second. You have the power to be listening to this right now, to be giving yourself and feeding yourself information that's going to be beneficial right now. Like you're reclaiming your own personal power and authority over the energy that you're pushing out to the future, right? The past is done. It's like, this has already happened. We can't change that. So how can we move forward? Without being so attached to an outcome, without being like, okay, like I don't have an open date for my salon yet. So there's like literally no certainty.
Right.
So how to stay stress free? Because the easy thing to do would be like, I don't have an open date. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with all my clients? I need to do it right now. I'm feeling overwhelmed because I need to get this done. It's like so heavy. And when we get into that state of mind and we start carrying on that narrative, carrying on that story of I am out of control, we create so much stress for ourselves, which isn't setting us up for any good in the future. So my number one takeaway that I would love for you to have today is finding presence. And I'm going to share with you two different things that you can do in different situations. Because one, it's easy to be like, hey, calm down, relax, right? Like, whoever in the history of ever was like, okay. Like,
True, yeah.
I saw a meme that was so funny. It was like, never in the history of all time did someone tell a woman to calm down and she actually calmed down. Like, just don't.
Yes.
So
Doesn't
a
happen.
big part, right? It's like, that's a good thought,
Yeah.
but also how. And I remember when I was seeing a lot of motivational speakers at one time, I was fascinated with being a speaker, something I always wanted to do. And on some of these things, I'd go and be like, yeah, cool, woo, I'm all excited because they're feeding me all this inspiration. And I would go home and I'm like, back into my regular routine. And I realized that there was inspiration without action. There's no actionable steps. There's no call to action. Like, here are things you can actually do. And when I found myself so deeply in my yoga practice and I found a most amazing teacher, I realized what I had been missing with a lot of these inspirational teachers or motivational people who are like, oh, they're so inspiring, was that when I was with my yoga teacher, she would teach me specific things to do to achieve what I wanted to experience. Whether it was, I want to be able to put my leg behind my head. Okay, push your arm away from your heart as your foot is pushing here, your stomach's lifting in, your chest is expanding. Like, she's giving me the actual direction and correction so I can experience the manifestation that I wanted. And it's one thing to be like, inspire people and tell your story, or say really beautiful Pinteresty things, but it's another to be like, I learned this and I implemented this and it created this result. And that's been a big mission of mine with everything I've created with Limitless is I don't want to be, I mean, it's flattering to be inspirational, but I want to be more actionable. Like I want people to come and experience some sort of shift within themselves so that they feel empowered to be your own teacher, be your own healer, listen to yourself, create tools so that you don't need to be codependent on someone. Like I work with people one-on-one, but I don't want to work with you one-on-one forever. I want you I want to teach you things so
Yes.
that you can trust yourself and listen to yourself and be able to be independent, interdependent in this world, but independent in a way that if it was only you, that you could take care of yourself, that you could know how to self-regulate, that you could know how to bring yourself into a place where you can listen to your own inner wisdom. So the one thing that I'm going to teach you first, because I want you to take away some things, is a really simple breathing technique. And this is for like when you become aware that you have totally lost it, you're off the rails, things have gone sideways. You know, when I was training people at my salon, I'd be like, the toner is turning the wrong color, if the haircut wasn't going in the right direction, if you could totally feel there's not a vibe with your client, like this is what you do. Yeah. Because that stuff is going to happen probably more now. Not that you're going to mess up color, not that you're going to mess up haircut, but the distance between energies of people is going to be a little bit muffled because it's going to be a lot of energy. It's going to be different. And so it's going to be really important for you to stay in the present moment, because when we're in the present moment, we're able to see things more clearly. We're able to make better choices. We're able to make more conscious choices based on what we really want and not what we think we should do or what other people are influencing us to do, right? I know for me, going back to the salon, I'm not going to do 3-hour, 4-hour appointments. I'm not going to be like, oh, what? I'm not going to have full blown consultations like you want a full color change. I don't even know if I can have a mask on that long to withstand that kind of a conversation, right? So I'm going to have to be able to stay, and we will all have to be able to stay very grounded in the fact that we're playing the role of the provider. We're playing the role of the person in charge. We're playing the role of who gets to navigate this experience. Because if we turn over the reins to the clients who haven't seen us and are like desperate for like change themselves because they've been in our same situation of isolation, we're not gonna feel stress-free. It's gonna be overwhelming.
Thank you for
So
sharing that. That's a really good point right there, is like, because I hadn't really thought about that, but it's really a mindset shift that we're going to have to, because it wasn't like that before. You know what I mean? Like we would come in and have these consultations and conversations, and we really do need to step into that place of like leader, like the role of kind of like, okay, I'm controlling this situation. We have to, you know. So thank you for sharing that. I don't want to sidetrack, but that was a really good point, and I hadn't really thought of it that way. So thank you for putting that into perspective and kind of bringing that to the surface.
oh my God, it's probably the most important thing, COVID or not, that I think will elevate the industry is if hairdressers take their power back. Like we are wearing the professional hat. We are wearing the in charge hat. Now you may take that hat off and you go home and you play a different role. But when you are behind that chair in this space, you are responsible for navigating the energy. You're responsible for the experience that's about to go down. And as soon as we start leaking energy and we take the shield down and we start letting someone else be in control of the situation, we lose all control of how much time we are staying on schedule, making sure that we're covering all bases. Like we just totally lose all of it. And it's okay if you realize it's happening. Like I've totally lost the reins with clients before. Like it happens. We are human. Like we're all of a sudden they're like, well, I don't know, maybe this, maybe that. And I'm like, okay, we've got to like rein it back in, but doing it, like I love how you said being leader, because when you are behind the chair and you're with a client, you are now in a leadership position. You are a leader because you are the one who's in charge. You are the one who's facilitating. You're the one who's guiding. You're the one who's holding space. So as soon as you start feeling things maybe going sideways, like for me, I don't want to have long consultations. I don't want Sally to come sit down and be like, well, I think I might want to go blonde. And then we're looking at 1,000 pictures. Like, I haven't seen clients in like 80 days. There's no way I'm going to have the width to withstand every person sitting down wanting to tell me their whole life story. Like I love you. And I think that's so important to make clear is clear expectations of the appointment, period.